And I'm going to mute everyone. So if you can all hit your button at the top that says speaker view, and that way you'll see all the speakers. Does everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay.
Are you guys ready?
Yep. So,
Okay.
well, we're gonna, Beth, we're gonna share some information first, and then we'll introduce you, okay?
Sounds good.
Good. So welcome, everyone. I'm so excited that you're all here today. We just feel horrible that we can't all be together this year. We really try to have this hosted at the zoo. We just want to make sure that everyone's safe. So we pulled this together. We hope you enjoy it. You're going to hear from some great presenters today for a couple minutes. And then we're going to have Beth come on from the zoo. She's got some backyard animals that she's going to share with you. We'd love to hear from you as well. So at the bottom, you'll see a chat button. Say hello and say where you're at right now. And we love seeing all the videos. And so with that being said, let me make sure I'm not missing anything here. So we're going to get started. So we're going to have Laura Witt start the show. She's right now, she's our president of the NICU, Magee's NICU Parent Advisory Council. And with her today is Hannah and Derek, two of her triplets who are going to be sophomores in college this year. Right? So with that, I'm going to introduce Laura.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for understanding and being on here for our first ever virtual reunion. Hopefully we'll never have to do this again, but this is a great opportunity to still be together. So from all of our NICU days all the way through today and COVID, thank you for working so hard to keep our once fragile babies safe and now celebrate our growing babies from today on. Wish we could be together in person, but this is a really super great opportunity to do it anyway. So today's a really special day, always. We look forward to this day every year to celebrate smiling faces of our NICU babies, our families, and especially our staff members at Magee and Children's Hospital for all of the work that they've done to get us to this point every year. Thank you so very much. And on behalf of my little smiling faces here, we are so happy to be with you today and celebrate with a lot of gratitude. We are here because of the NICU, and we're also here for the NICU. So the proceeds of our ticket sales and our shirt sales today and every reunion go to helping to support the current families in the NICU through our socials and different activities that support the parents and the families that are still enduring the episode that we did so long ago. So thank you for participating, not only with your tickets in person and your shirt purchases, but also just your thoughts, your prayers, and any ongoing participation that you can do is helpful for ongoing staff and families. Dr. Diacovo, who is the head of our ship in healing and saving, does a lot of great work with the NICU staff and both Children's and Magee to provide research, support, and everything else to grow our healthy babies today and beyond. And so anything that we can do to support him and the entire staff in their journey of saving babies from now and for forever, we will absolutely do. I'm part of the Parent Advisory Council to the NICU. We provide the socials, hopefully once COVID is over, and any type of support that we can. So I appreciate you being here, your donations through the tickets and the t-shirts, and any opportunity that you have or that you feel that you could provide to support the NICU is great. And that is through donations. It's also through sharing your stories, your NICU stories, and the way that we are all able to be here help support the NICU the best, because people understand babies. They understand babies' faces. They understand the way that the NICU has helped grow these babies, especially mine, from 24 weeks to college sophomores. We couldn't be more grateful. And 20 years in, I will still do this for another 20 years. So please help us help the NICU through donations. We have a really great opportunity coming up in November to share stories. So please stay tuned. Please help us. Please stay grateful, and please keep sharing your kids and your smiling faces to make this every year better and better, and more people in person or Zoom. So please enjoy Dr. Diacovo. Please enjoy Janice from the foundation. Please thank you to Denise for putting this all together and taking us from in-person to virtual in the best way possible. Thank you to our supporters and our sponsorships, Giant Eagle, the 25 Club of Magee, Chiesi, Mead Johnson, also the zoo, our Parent Advisory Council, and all of the gratefulness through the Magee-Womens Hospital Foundation Research and Institute that helped make everything happen here. So thank you to all of you. Have fun, all you little kiddos, as we Zoom the zoo, and I appreciate every one of you. Hugs from virtual world, and enjoy the day, please. And please now, Dr. Diacovo.
Great, thank you. Are you going to show the slides, or would you want me to? Okay. All right, so thank you, everyone. I especially want to give a big shout out to Denise and Laura for all their hard work and what they've done in the past, and this year where it's been more difficult to try to bring us together in this virtual zoo reunion. This is the highlight of my year, is when I get the opportunity to participate in this event. I'd say of all the institutions I've been to, this has got to be one of the best and greatest reunions that I've ever had an honor to participate in. So thank you. I also want to thank all the families today who are participating in this event and those in the past. You know, your support really does matter and make a difference in helping us really give back to you in many different ways. You know, we want to help our parents and our patients. The hospital systems cannot always do that, and we do need donations to make our care better and your experiences better in the NICU. You know, and I'll just have some brief things that we've been doing. You know, just even the simple sleeper chairs. You know, providing comfort to our parents when they need to stay overnight with their critically ill babies, and in supporting them from that perspective. And these sleeper chairs have also been instrumental in helping our mothers breastfeed. They're more comfortable. Our rates of breastfeeding have come up dramatically because they're more comfortable and able to have more time to spend with their babies at the bedside. Other things we use the money for is to improve our education and the care for our babies. Through, you know, we do a lot of practicing to make sure we're perfect when our skills are needed, and that's through these high fidelity resuscitation mannequins that, you know, foundation money has actually helped support, so we can be at the top of our game when our skill sets are needed to support your babies. And of course, the zoo reunion. Again, one of my favorite times of year And I do appreciate everybody that supports this endeavor, because it really allows, I'm going to be a little bit selfish here. I enjoy seeing all the babies and seeing, you know, all the hard work that has been put into to get them through this most difficult time, and to see them run around and be little persons. That is always a great experience. Next slide, please. So just again, I just want to tell you what our mission really is. It's improving care to enable even the tiniest of our patients to live happy, healthy, and productive lives. I know my group has done a good job when I see all these healthy children running around at the Zoo reunion, and that is great satisfaction for me to know that we've done a good job to help you. Next slide, please. And one of my goals is bringing all of our units together and providing high quality care. We have units throughout the Western Pennsylvania, now in the Harrisburgs, and we want to make sure that we are united in providing the best quality care to all our patients, no matter where they are in the UPM system. And in particular, really making sure that Magee and Children's have unified approaches to providing excellent care to our patients. But sometimes they need to come from Magee over to Children's to have operations or for different procedures. And knowing that you're going to get the same quality care whether you're at Magee or Children's or anywhere throughout our system. So that has been one of my major goals over the past year and a half, is really ensuring that everyone talks to one another and everybody knows how to provide the best care to our patient population. Last slide, please. And, you know, we always want to be cutting edge and doing new things and ensuring that, are we providing the best care and how do we support our families? And, you know, there's been a lot of new initiatives that have gone on over the past year. And one of the things I think has been really important is developing what we call a neonatal compassionate care group, where they help to focus on those families and patients who have the greatest needs because of the critically ill nature of their babies. And sometimes we can't save every baby, and knowing that we have a team that's going to help support that family through their greatest time of need is really important to us. And again, foundation money has been used to help support in bringing in, you know, a neonatal leader in this area and nurse practitioners who are, you know, undergone training in this area, so we can provide that care, not only the physical medical care, but also the mental health care that's needed as part of this whole experience. We have also developed state-of-the-art telemedicine, so we can reach out in those areas that don't have physicians or care that's needed in their particular community. So having the ability for us to be virtually there has made a huge difference in making sure that we can guarantee that the patients who are out there are seen by a neonatologist and are getting directions of how to provide excellent care. On the research side, we're doing many new innovative procedures, including if you know when your baby goes in, they'll have to have a little heel stick to get a little blood to do what we call the neonatal screening to look for diseases. You know, that only covers 38 diseases that we know about. Now we're using rapid genomic sequencing, where we can cover 20,000 genes that are known to cause disease. Not only this used to take a month to get these results back, now we can get it back in 72 hours, faster than the current screen that we send out to the state for that. And it has made a huge difference in actually identifying critically ill babies, what their problem is, so we can provide the excellent care that's needed to help them get through that particular problem. We're also doing innovative studies with new drugs in our neonates or babies who have congenital heart disease, who after surgery are known to be at risk for developing life-ending blood clots. And this is my own actually personal trial that we're about to start in the latter part of next year, where we are working worldwide on putting out this study for this new drug that we're going to give to these babies. I mean, and know that it's going to have a profound influence or effect on preventing these blood clots from happening to get them through this difficult time. And we're working on developing the first worldwide blood bank, where we are developing products specifically for premature babies. Today, when we give blood products to our babies, they're all from adult donors. And that has implications regards to how their blood clots, how they get oxygen to their tissue. And so we're using some innovative techniques and working with our blood bank to actually develop blood products that are appropriate for our patient population. And this is only a few of the things we're doing. And again, your dollars really help us, not only providing better care for our patients, but also pushing the envelope for research to make lives better for our patients as well. So again, thank you for this opportunity to participate in this lovely event. I wish we were there in person, but thank you, Denise and Laura, for putting this on.
Okay, thank you. So we have Beth here with some of the zoo animals. And again, if you have questions, please share those in the chat room. And if you want to make sure, have your speaker view on so that you could see the animals better. So go ahead, Beth.
All right. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. So I'm so sorry that you guys couldn't make it out this year. I know in years past, I've actually been able to bring up animals for you guys to see. And of course, today we wanted to be able to bring some animals for you. Unfortunately, because they are live animals, I do have to wear my mask around them right now. I also, and our first animal we're going to meet is over here on my side. But this is my friend Jordan, and he actually brought a very special backyard animal for you guys to meet. So I'm going to let Jordan jump in on the camera real quick.
How's it going, guys? So this is Artemis. He is a great horned owl. So they call them great horned owls because they have these little feather tufts on top of their head. They actually use them to stick straight up whenever they're a little bit angry or a little upset. So it actually makes them look a lot bigger. So their actual ears are actually right around here, and they're actually on different levels of their head so they can hear better. So they have one ear right around here, and then on the other side, they'll have one way up here. But if they put their tufts up, it makes them look a lot bigger than they actually are. So it's kind of a form of defense for them. So Mr. Artemis here, he is actually one of our rescue animals. So one of our rescue animals, whenever we rescue an animal, we'll take them in either from shelter or something like that, and then we'll take them in, and then we'll be able to keep them pretty much for the rest of their lives, because most of the times, unfortunately, rescue animals aren't able to be re-released, but we do make them extremely happy whenever they are here. So he is partly wild, but he is definitely one of my favorite birds that we have here. He is extremely friendly, at least to me, not to other people sometimes, but he can be a little bit grumpy. He is a little grumpy today. I kind of woke him up from his nap since he is nocturnal. He's kind of used to our schedule, but not quite used to being able to be up every single day like we are. So do you guys have any questions for him? Anything you want to know?
How old can they last?
So in the wild, these guys can live upwards of about 15 to 17-ish years. And then in captivity, they can actually live up to about 20-ish. So they can actually live well past that in life expectancy in the captivity, because they have excellent veterinary care. They have food supplies that they don't have to worry about. They have no predators or anything like that. So we actually have a great horned owl who's 27 years old. So he is very, very old.
And we have a question
have any-
asking, what does he eat?
So here in the Pittsburgh Zoo and PPG Aquarium, Mr. Artemis loves to eat micicles. So what micicles they are frozen mice. We don't give it to him frozen. We'll unthaw them and then we'll give them to him. We don't like to feed live here just because live mice can possibly carry different parasites and stuff like that. And if something were trying to attack me, I probably wouldn't just let it. So we don't want any of our animals running the risk of getting bit. So that is why we end up giving them frozen mice. But in the wild, they will eat live, obviously. They'll eat different types of rodents, such as mice, rats, moles, pretty much anything that they can trap. And then sometimes these guys, even though skunks stink really, really bad, to these guys, they can't smell it. So they will actually even eat skunks too.
They're so lucky.
You guys have any other questions? What's that?
Yeah, so someone asked, there's two questions. How do you spell his name and how much does he weigh?
So that is a very good question. So This little guy, even though he looks pretty big, he only weighs around 4 to 5 pounds, so he is pretty light. And the reason why they have to be light is because they have to be able to fly. So he actually has hollow bones, and he will actually poop almost every 15 minutes because that helps him to stay very, very light. But we spell his name Artemis, Artemis, kind of like Artemis Fowl. You guys have any other questions?
I think that's all the questions we had.
All right, well, I am going to give it back to Beth here, and she's going to show you a few more animals.
All right, thank you, Jordan. So you guys got to see Artemis, who's one of my favorite animals here in the education department. I actually love birds, but there's lots of animals we want to talk about that are from here in our backyards. And so I don't know if you saw me kind of looking around before. Jordan's kind of looking around. I actually had brought out an animal before, and then Jordan showed up, so I had to put her on the floor. So she's been actually running around underneath Jordan's feet this whole time. So let me see if I can get her to come back up on the table here. Come on, miss. Oh. Now you're going to decide you want to go back to bed. So whenever you're talking about Pennsylvania and you talk about special babies, I wanted to bring out one that has really special babies here. So everybody, I'm going to bring out my very special friend. Her name is Clover. And Clover is a Virginia opossum. So Virginia opossums, sometimes people call them possums, are very special animals. If you take a look at Miss Clover here. I'm going to turn the camera so you guys can see her a little better. There you go. So Miss Clover here, she is a full-grown opossum. She's actually about 3 years old. And so you can see she's a full-size opossum, and 3 is very old. In the wild, these guys only live about 1 to 2 years. And opossums are very special for a reason. They are actually North America's only marsupial. So marsupial is an animal that has a pouch, and she has a pouch just like a kangaroo would have. And so she's going to use that pouch to help her to carry her babies around. Now, she can have up to 13 babies at a time, but when they're born, they're actually born about the size of a jelly bean. And so they're very, very tiny little babies, and they just crawl right into her pouch, and they're going to stay there for about 2 months. And then they'll come out and they'll start crawling around, and they will hang on to her back. So I see a question, is her fur soft? Her fur is fluffy, but it's kind of coarse. So it is a little bit rough. And I saw another question about her toes. So why are her claws so big? Well, these guys are amazing climbers. So if you look at those feet, she actually has very good feet for climbing. And on the back feet here, she even has a thumb, just like we do. So she can use that thumb to help her to be able to hold on to trees, or even to be able to hold on to different surfaces to be able to climb with. Now, as a baby, they were able to hang by their tail. You can see this special tail that she has. It's called a prehensile tail. That means it acts like a hand to be able to hang with. But as a grown-up, she's actually too heavy for her own tail. Now, Miss Clover also had an accident when she was a baby. She got a cut on her tail, and she didn't really like it, so she actually started chewing on that cut. And so unfortunately, she actually chewed off the end of her tail. So I see a question, is the opossum different than the possum? So technically, yes. So the opossum is what we have here in our backyards. The possum lives in Australia, but we're kind of lazy, so we just say possum anyway. And so you're not really wrong when you call them a possum, but by technicality, yes, the opossum is actually found here, and the possum is in Australia. So they are a little bit different. Now, if I can get her, you to come back out and say hi. They want to see you. Come on. Now, if you guys happen to notice, she's cross-eyed. We'll see if she'll sneak back out here. But opossums are actually cross-eyed. And the reason for that, when they're babies, their eyes are normal. But everything about an opossum ages very quickly. So Miss Clover, as I said, is 3 years old. At this age, she wouldn't even be alive in the wild. They only live in the wild about 1 to 2 years. And so they have very, very weak muscles at this age. Everything breaks down very quickly, and they age very fast. And so, unfortunately, her eyes went crossed, and they stayed that way. So you guys can see those special eyes of hers. So yeah, oh, okay, that happens. Now, another thing you notice about her is her special ears. So opossums have these very thin, very leathery ears. And so that's going to help them to hear, and they need that. But if you notice, her best sense is actually her sense of smell. She's got that great big nose. All right, I'll put you back down. So they have that great big nose so that they can smell with. Now, that's important. I just saw a question, how does she properly hunt? That is actually something to do with her nose. So if you guys notice that big long nose, she's going to rely on that sense of smell to be able to find everything. And opossums eat, I mean, everything. They like fruits and vegetables. They like leaves. They like bugs, mice. They like worms. They like garbage. For them, the stinkier the food is, the better. So today she's being a little wiggly. So she was like, I don't really want you to hold me. I want to just be able to run around. If I try to hold her, her favorite place to shove her head is actually my armpit, because she likes anything stinky. So she wants to put her head right in the armpit there and to be able to sniff with. But they use that in the wild to find their food. So she can't really see that well anymore. She's going to need to have a way to find that food. And so that nose is what lets her do that. So she sometimes, you know, right now we do a lot of physical therapy with her to help keep her walking since she's a little bit older. But sometimes, since she's a little bit slower, she's just going to find stuff that's already dead. Opossums are scavengers. They actually don't like to eat a lot of fresh food. They like to clean up everybody else's garbage. And that's really important, because think about all the carcasses or all of the, you know, rotten fruit and all that that's laying around. Without animals to clean them up, that stuff would be just laying everywhere, gross. We'd have germs everywhere. So they're actually helping us. But one of the other really important things about opossums, they actually eat ticks. So nobody likes ticks, but they can eat 3,000 to 4,000 ticks a week. They can sit and chew on ticks. And so they're really, really good at it. I saw a really cute video the other day. A deer walked up to an opossum. The opossum just started licking his head. So they were probably just picking ticks right off. And so these guys are really, really great at hunting for ticks and for all sorts of rotten food. And so they eat just about everything. Now, the one thing that I will tell you, for as much as they have the great ability to smell, they also can make an incredible smell. I'm going to use a stuffed animal here to show you here. So right here by the base of her tail, she actually has a special gland. And what she would do is, say a predator came along, she's just going to flop over, and she's going to release that smell from that gland that makes her smell like she's dead and rotting. And there's a reason for that, is because most predators do not want to eat rotten meat. They want a fresh kill. So by smelling like she's all rotten and gross, they're just going to leave her alone. They're just going to keep on walking. And that helps her. She'll just wait until it's safe, and then she pops back up and runs away. Do you guys have any more questions about Miss Clover? Anything else you guys want to know?
Someone asked how much she weighs.
How much does she weigh? Miss Clover, she's actually on a bit of a diet right now because she really loves her treats. And since she's a little lady, we give her all the treats that she wants. But she actually weighs right now, I want to say, about 8 pounds. And that's pretty heavy for her. Any other questions?
What other things does she eat other than ticks?
Anything. If it's edible, she's going to eat anything. So she'll eat fruit, meat, bugs, garbage. They love, like, you know, our old groceries that are shoved in our trash can. They think that's delicious. You get a couple of different animals that like to really raid our trash cans. You either see raccoons, skunks, or opossums that all come in and kind of raid trash cans.
Okay.
Unless you live in my neighborhood, then you get the neighborhood cats that come up too. So, anybody else? All right, well, if there's no other questions about her, we're going to go ahead and move on then. So I actually have a couple different animals for you guys to meet from our backyards. You know, one of my favorite animals to talk about, I love turtles. Do you guys like turtles? So I brought a very special turtle for you to meet. So everybody, this is Bill. So Bill is an eastern box turtle. So this is another species that's native here to our backyards. And so if you look, he's called a box turtle because of this special shell. So right here on this shell is this line. That line is called a hinge. It acts just like a hinge on a door. And so this little flap, when he's scared, he can tuck his head in and he'll close that little door and it just locks him in like he's hiding inside of a box. And all you'll actually see are his little eyes sticking out. You wouldn't see the rest of him. His little feet would tuck in, everything hides in there, and all you just see 2 little eyes peeking out at you. And so they do that to stay safe. This shell is really, really going to protect him. And that's because it's made out of hard, bony plates. This is a very tough shell. And if you look, he's actually attached to it. So this line right here is actually his spinal column. So that's where his backbones are. And so this is where he attaches to that shell. So you'll never ever see a naked turtle running around because they always have to take their shell with them everywhere that they go. That way they can stay nice and protected. Now, turtles can live a long time. So that even this little turtle here, he could live to be 50 or 60, even 70 years old. They can live a very, very long time. Think about some of those big sea turtles or those Galapagos tortoises that can live way over 100 years. They can live a very, very long time too. Oh, he's giving you guys the hand. He's like, hey. So turtles, they age, they grow, everything very slowly. So Bill here, Bill is actually almost 30 years old.
Oh, wow.
So he's older than our kids here. So he's been at the zoo a very long time. He was actually at the zoo when I came to the zoo 20 years ago. He was here already. And so he's been here a very long time. And he's still a very young, healthy man. He's got a lot of life with him. And so he loves his vegetables. His favorite food here at the zoo, he loves blueberries, and he loves strawberries, apples, and bananas. And his absolute favorite is worms. He thinks worms are delicious. Now, turtles don't have teeth. If you can look at his mouth here, you can see Bill's mouth. He actually has just a hard jawbone. It's called a beak. Now, some turtles will get a little point on the end here. Bill, unfortunately, he chewed his point off trying to chew on some hard stuff, and it hasn't regrown back in yet. But you know what? It doesn't stop him. I still watch him crushing food all the time. Now, one of the coolest things about him is I can tell he's a boy, and I can tell that by his eye color. You guys notice his eyes are very bright red. And so his eyes are like Crayola crayon red. They're very, very bright. The girls have very dark eyes. So they get dark, kind of brownish red eyes. They're very deep, very dark. And so it's a very easy way to tell the difference. Another way would be to look at the bottom of the shell. So if you look at his shell, it's not flat on the bottom. It actually curves inward. And so that's going to tell you that this is a boy. The girls have the completely flat shells, whereas the boys have concave or curved inward shells there. Now, if you notice another cool thing about him, he's got beautiful camouflage. So these guys are kind of meant to look just like a rock. So imagine you're walking along and this is all you saw. He's going to look just like a rock. That way he can blend in and be able to hide. That's going to give him a lot of protection. Now, he does have predators. His biggest predator would be animals like raccoons, hawks, and owls. And that's because they're smart enough that they figured out that you got to break this shell open in order to get to the turtle, because the turtle is going to be able to pull in and just hold in there, and it's going to be too strong for most animals to open. But what these guys do with the raccoons and the owls and hawks will take them up and then drop them so that it cracks this shell. Now, the biggest threat that they have is actually people. You know, for the younger kids, ask your parents. I'm going to tell you, they probably saw a lot more turtles around when we were younger. I know I saw turtles all the time when I was younger, but today I hardly ever see a turtle anymore. And that's mostly because of people. So if you ever see a turtle in the wild, the best thing I can tell you, leave it where it is. Turtles are very, very, very stubborn. They're very, very stubborn, and they like to set up their territory. This is their space and their territory. And so if you take them out of that territory, they don't recognize where they are anymore. And especially depending on the time of year, they may not be ready for winter. During the winter months, turtles actually have to do what's called brumate. Brumate's just another way of saying hibernate, but it's the reptile version of hibernate. They brumate for the winter time. So what they do is they just kind of slow everything down, and they just sleep all winter long. And then they'll wake up in the spring and come out and try to find more food. Now, since they are a reptile turtle, that means turtles are cold-blooded. And so they rely on their environment to help them maintain their temperature. And so with his case, he actually has to, stay pretty warm. And so during the spring months, he'll come out and sun himself during the daytime. But when it's really, really hot in the summer, like we've had these really hot past couple of weeks here in the summer, they'll come out more in the morning or in the evening when it's cooler. And then they can kind of sit under some shade for the daytime and just kind of, when it's really hot, and just kind of take it easy, rest a little bit, and be able to just kind of not get overheated. But the funny thing is, the warmer they are, the faster they digest their food and the faster they're going to grow. And that's true for all reptiles. The warmer they are, the more they need to eat, and the faster they're going to grow them. Now, another cool thing to think about is, because turtles are so stubborn, another place you'll see them often is along the road. So, good question. Why did the turtle cross the road? It was to get to the other side. So if you ever see a turtle up by the road, you want to keep in mind that they're there because they're moving between their territory. They've established an area up in there, and they're just trying to move from one place to another. And so a lot of times they don't sleep right where they're going to eat, or they've eaten all the food there and they have to go forage elsewhere for it. So if you see a turtle out in the road, please, little kids, don't run out and grab it. Call your parents. parents, what you guys could do if you're going to pick it up and move it the direction it's going. Don't take it back where it came from, because he's going to turn around and go right back out on the road again. So you want to take him all the way across the road, put him on the other side where he's going to be safe. Unfortunately, hundreds of turtles get hit by cars every single year. And unfortunately, these little shells, while they're pretty strong, aren't going to hold up to a car. So that's a good way to keep a turtle safe. If you see one by the road, is just move it across the road, wherever, which way it's going. These guys are stubborn. They'll just turn around and keep going back over and over and over again. His little friend that he lives with, actually, she is so stubborn that one time she wouldn't go an inch out of her way around a chair. So she literally pushed an entire stack of chairs out of the way to be able to just keep going that way. She was just determined, that's the way I'm going, and that's what I'm doing. So just keep that in mind. You want to be able to keep her, keep them moving and keep them in their safe territories. Would you guys have any questions about him? Anything you'd like to know?
Yeah, we have some questions. So someone had asked, so is his shell brown or is it green?
So his shell is actually brown. So if you kind of look at it, he's got brown and black, and then he's got yellow spots along here. There are a few species of turtles that have green, but not so many here in Pennsylvania. A lot of them are going to be in other states south of us, or even in the tropics.
Great.
All
And
right.
someone wanted to know, do they become friends with each other, or are they just kind of loners and hang out?
That's a good question. So some species of turtles are loners. This type of turtle, they would have a territory, and other turtles might kind of overlap in that territory, but it's not often I see a whole bunch of them hanging out together. We actually have 4 turtles here, and I used to have all 4 of them living together until Bill hit his I'm a grown-up turtle now, and then he wouldn't leave the girls alone. He kept pestering them. So we finally had to stop and pull him out and put him in his own tank so that the girls could be happy. And then we put the other boy in there, but then he always kept harassing the other boys, so we had to separate them too. So Bill has a friend he can see through a window, and then he has 2 girlfriends he can see on this side of him. So he can see them, but they all have their own space.
He's a little gigolo, huh?
Basically, yep.
Someone wants to know if they outgrow their shells.
Oh, that's a good question. So turtles never outgrow their shells. They're born with these shells. They take them everywhere that they go, and theirs for their entire life. So these shells, they're born, they're just tiny little, like quarter-sized shells, and they'll just grow with them their whole lives. So you can't outgrow your bones. He can't outgrow his shell then.
And someone wanted to know what kind of turtle this is again.
This is an eastern box turtle. So this is the same kind of box turtle you'd have right here in our backyards. And it looks like, I just had another question I can see that says that they like to eat chicken food. And what kind of food do they eat in the wild? Well, I did not know that they can eat chicken food. That is good to know. But what kind of food they eat in the wild is all different sorts of fruits, berries, leaves, grass. They love worms, mushrooms sometimes they'll eat. So they'll just kind of graze all day. As a matter of fact, we take all of our turtles. So in total, I have 8 turtles here in our department at the zoo. And every day we try to take them outside because sunshine is really important to turtles. It's one of the hardest things to remember is that turtles need the right amount of sun so that they can take their vitamins and convert that into the right nutrition that they need. And so we actually take them outside in the sun every day to help them do that. And I have 2 that as soon as I put them outside, all they do is eat the entire time. They just sit and eat grass like the whole time. And so they do rely on sunshine to help them do that. And so that's one of the things that's hard because in the winter, since they can't be outside here, we have to give them big sun lamps so that they stay nice and warm, they get the right wavelengths of light and be able to keep healthy. I see a couple more questions came up. Can he swim? The answer to that is no, he is not a good swimmer. Unfortunately, he doesn't have the right feet for it. If you look, his feet are just claws. He doesn't really have any webbing. So if he got in the water, he'll sit in mud, he'll sit in shallow water. But if he got into too deep of water, he'd actually drown. And unfortunately, people sometimes think they're helping by chucking him into creeks. And unfortunately, those turtles can't swim and they'll just drop like a rock. And so just keep that in mind. If you're not sure if it can swim or not, don't put it in the water. And then another one we got is how do we pick the animals' names? Well, we have this guy here. He got named after a president, Bill Clinton is how he got his name. So we have Bill. And then sometimes we find, funny things that we'll name him after. Like we have 2 alligators right now. Her named Mork and Mindy. And we had our last alligators were Hawkeye and Trapper. So we like a lot of television. Sometimes we vote on things like Miss Clover. We cook our opossums, we go with colors. So our last pair is, this pair here is green. So we had Clover and Fern. And then we have 2 baby opossums coming in right now. And so their color is red. So we have Rosie and we have Petunia. And so we try to go with different, you know, different themes that way. But then sometimes we do votes. And so people get to suggest. So we had an animal that's coming up here in just a minute. You guys get to meet. We had a vote and we just, you know, everybody threw out a suggestion and we just voted on which one was the coolest. Or sometimes we let the public vote. And so you can see, like, we just had a big voting contest here at the zoo for the cheetahs. So they let everybody decide, do you want to have like cool girl names, African names, or I think it was Pittsburgh names. And then when they chose African names, the keeper sat down and picked out the African names for the cheetahs then. And so we, you know, we have a lot of different ways that we name our animals. And sometimes they come with names. I just adopted a bunny this year earlier from the shelter. Our older bunny had passed away, so we brought in a new bunny. And she just came from the North Side shelter, and her name is Valentine. And since she came in with a name, we're just going to leave her with that name. All right, those are good questions. Any other questions about Bill?
I think we're good.
Looks like nothing. Looks like we're good. All right, well, I'm going to put Bill back to bed here. And let me see if I got something cool behind me here. I always like to talk about this animal for just a minute, and unfortunately, I can't bring one in the room. But whenever you're talking about backyard animals, you got to talk about the owner of this. Who owns this? It's actually from a deer.
Deer.
So think about how many deer you have seen in your backyard. White-tailed deer are one of the, you know, the most common animals that we have here in Pennsylvania. And they get these really cool antlers. And I want to show you this for a minute. Only the boys get the antlers, not the girls. The boys, their names are bucks. The girls are called does, and the babies are called fawns. One of the biggest calls we get at the zoo, people will call and tell us, hey, I just saw a fawn in the yard, and I think the mom abandoned it. And so what should they do to take care of it? And the biggest thing, if you ever see a fawn all by itself, leave it alone. Mom fawns actually leave their babies sit alone all day long. Their babies hide in the grass. The moms walk away. They go feed somewhere else because as they're moving around and feeding, they don't want to draw attention to the little fawn. And so that little fawn is just going to lay there and sleep all day and wait for mom to come back around dusk. So deer are most active at dawn and at dusk, but during the daytime, like I said, moms will move away and leave the fawns alone. So if you ever see a baby deer out in your yard, you want to make sure just to leave it there. Mom will be back for it. If she doesn't come back in a day or two, then you can call and get some help. But if you only see it for a few hours, just leave it be. I promise you, the baby's fine. He's just hiding out there, waiting until mom comes back. Now, these cool antlers that they have are actually made out of the same stuff as your bones. They're actually made out of calcium. And that calcium is really important because it becomes a source of calcium once these fall off. These are antlers, which means that they do fall off every year. And so the calcium in these will help to feed other animals in the forest. And so think about things like squirrels and chipmunks and beavers and porcupines. These are rodents that need a strong source of calcium. And so they'll find these and they'll actually nibble on them to be able to help keep their teeth at a good length, but then use that calcium to help them to, you know, strengthen their bones and their teeth. And so that's really, really important. So just my little blurb about deer there for just a second. I'll throw this behind me. You know, one of the other ones that's important too is we've been seeing this more and more and more. Anybody seen all the news stories about the bears this year? So there's been a lot of news stories about bears. So we have the black bear here in Pennsylvania. Black bear are typically not going to be super aggressive unless you came upon a mom and her cubs. The mom is going to be very protective of her cubs, but otherwise they're usually pretty laid back and they just kind of want to be able to eat. Black bear will eat just about anything. They eat a lot of fruit. They eat a lot of worms and bugs. They'll scavenge a little bit, but these guys are one of our larger animals here in Pennsylvania. And so you do want to make sure to give them some space. But if you see one in your yard, just kind of give it room. Just give it some space. Let it move on. Just step into your house. I had a friend who posted photos the other day. She had one just walk through her backyard, actually ripped up her whole patio and then left. So just give them the room that they need. And then, you know, that way they could stay safe from them, because it is a problem sometimes when we run into conflicts with wildlife. Now, one of my favorites is actually the last animal that I brought for you guys to meet today. And I'm going to pull him out here. I love talking about this guy because he is very often a misunderstood animal. So as I told you before, this is one that we voted on. And so this one here, his name is Orville Redenbacher.
Sorry.
And Orville is a corn snake. So that's why he got his name, Orville the corn snake. But anyway, corn snakes are found around here on the East Coast. You'll find them more in states south of us, but every now and then you'll find one here in Pennsylvania, or you'll find snakes that are in the same family. So he is he looks like the normal color, which is nice because corn snakes are very popular in the pet trade. And so they've got a lot of different color patterns that people have kind of bred in captivity. But this is the normal color that you see them at. Their nickname is the red rat snake because they are in the same family as our black rat snake that you see all the time here in Pennsylvania. That black rat snake is sometimes also called the black snake. So if you've ever heard that term black snake, that's what they're talking about is the rat snakes. Now, if you guys look at them, they're beautiful. And you can see how good a climber he is. He actually loves to hang. We have a big climbing board that kind of looks like a Plinko game. And our snakes will climb all over it. They love being able to hang up and down and just be able to like find their food. Now, they will eat mice and they'll eat rats, but they're also, since they're such good climbers, they're very good at eating birds. And so they can get up in trees and try to eat birds, which is important because we have a lot of small birds like sparrows, starlings, and these guys will help to keep them under control to help keep the population from getting too high. Now, if you notice his beautiful tongue sticking out, he's actually trying to smell everybody. That's what he's doing, is just sniffing everyone. And so he can't really smell you guys, unfortunately, because you're through the computer screen, but he can smell the opossum on my side. He can smell the turtle over there, and he knows that they're all there then. And so snakes actually smell using their tongues. In their mouth is a special organ called a Jacobson's organ. And that tongue pops in and out, and it's actually forked at the end, so it can help tell directions. They can tell where the concentration of smells is the most. And then they're going to take that tongue and put it back into their mouth in the Jacobson's organ. And it kind of thinks like a flash drive. So if you put your flash drive in the computer, it's going to read the data off the tongue just like you would read a flash drive, and then it can actually be able to find its food that way. Now, this guy is non-venomous, so he's got beautiful coloring. He kind of looks, if you notice his colors, almost like the copperhead here in Pennsylvania. And so they are sometimes misidentified, but they are, beautiful, beautiful non-venomous snakes. He's actually a constrictor. So if he found his food, he's going to grab it and he's going to squeeze it, give it the world's biggest bear hug. And then he's going to be able to eat that food. And when he swallows his food whole. They don't chew their food at all. They don't really have the mouth for that. The only teeth they have are the sharp, pointy incisor teeth. All their teeth point backwards, so that way when they grab their food is kind of stuck in their mouth. They can't pull out. And then when they swallow it, they have to be able to open their mouth pretty big. That's because he can swallow food. Think about this guy can eat a bird. His head's pretty tiny, but he can eat a small bird. And so he can swallow food 4 to 5 times bigger than his head. He actually has very stretchy ligaments on the side that he'd be able to open his mouth wide this way. And then his chin is split into 2 pieces. He's missing a piece of bone in the middle, so his chin stretches really wide that way. So by being able to stretch his mouth open so wide, he can eat food 4 to 5 times bigger than his head. And so if we could do the same thing, we'd be able to swallow an entire watermelon. Now, it's really amazing. Snakes have all the same organs that people do. The same things like hearts and lungs, kidneys, spleen, all of that. And so the difference is how they're shaped. All of his organs are shaped like tubes that run down through his body. So instead of being round, like, a nice big heart or, a nice big lung, his are all just long, skinny tubes. And so when he takes a breath, his lungs actually stretch from here to about there, that he has to be able to inhale and fill up all that airspace in there. But think about that if you're trying to eat and your food has to push its way past your lung, but it's bigger than your head. So his organs are very flexible. He can actually stretch his rib cage open and be able to slide that food all down through his body. And so that's going to help him to eat some pretty large food. Now, if you notice those pretty belly scales that he has, these are his belly scales. They're called scutes. And those scutes are actually very, very smooth. So if you look, that's his belly versus his back. So his back has a lot of texture on it, but his belly is very smooth. And that's because he has to be able to slide along. Now, I saw a comment that says that they're soft and not as slippery as he appears. And that is very true. So these beautiful scales he has are dry. They're very, very dry. If he was slippery or slimy, it'd be like Jell-O trying to slide along. Anyone ever dropped Jell-O before? It picks up everything. And so think about that. They're going to be dirt and leaves and everything would just be gross and stuck to him constantly if he was slimy. That's why these guys have these very dry, beautiful scales. That way they can stay nice and clean and be able to move along. Those scales are actually thin, but they hold the moisture against his body. That's their purpose, is to help hold the water towards his body. And so whenever he has to grow, he has to shed his old scales. And so what he does is he actually pushes up a water layer between the old scales and the new scales. So right before a snake sheds, their eyes turn blue. They turn a bluish gray color. And then when he's done getting ready to shed and all those scales are about to pop off, that fluid layer absorbs back into his body. And these eyes actually turn back to clear. So you can see those nice brown eyes that he has. Now, the funny thing is he has no eyelids. Snakes don't have any eyelids. They actually have a scale over their eye. It's called an eye cap or a spectacle, but it kind of looks like a contact lens. And that's all it is. It just covers over their eyeball. And so they can never blink their eyes. So if you actually come up on a snake that's just kind of sitting there curled up, you have no way of knowing if it's sleeping or not. If it's just holding very still, it could be wide awake and just watching you. And so be very careful if you ever approach a snake, because you don't want to go on and, disturb one if he is sleeping, because that's a good way to get startled and bit. So the questions I see coming up here, it looks like, so where did we get him? So Orville actually came to us from a reptile rescue here in Pennsylvania. We have a young man who runs a reptile rescue right out of his house. And he called us because he said he's familiar with the zoo. And he was like, hey, I have this beautiful corn snake here. I actually have 2 that I'm looking to place. I wondered if you guys had any space. We actually had room for 2 corn snakes, so we brought him in. So we got Orville and Cayenne in here. And so that's where they came from. And we get our animals from a lot of different places. So a lot of our education animals come in from rescues or from former pets. We have a few of them we actually breed here, like my hissing cockroaches across from me here. I have a tank of hissing cockroaches. Right now I have about 50. During breeding season, I can get as many as 500 or 600. And then, they actually, kind of age out pretty quickly. But some of them are rescue animals, like you saw the owl that we met earlier, Artemis, and then Clover the opossum. Both of those animals are rehab animals. So they came from a rehab center. They were both injured and unfortunately not able to be returned to the wild. As a matter of fact, Clover was orphaned. So her mom was hit by a car and she and her sister were both found in her mom's pouch still alive. And so that's how they brought her here. But Mr. Orville, he actually came from the rescue, and Bill also came from a rescue. But we had things like people's pets that they've dropped off. One time we had a call about a woman had a pet hedgehog, not supposed to have those in Pennsylvania, so they brought that in that way too. So why is he red? Well, that's just his coloring. Every snake's going to be different, and so this happens to be the color that he got, was kind of this reddish orange color. And then how long do they live? So they live about 10 to 15 years in the wild. At the zoo here, he's probably going to live to be 20 to 25 years old. So he could live about the same time as that owl that you met. And then are they found in suburban areas or way out in the woods far away from us? Well, they're not going to be that far away from you. I guarantee you, if you go outside, you probably have a snake somewhere in your yard. You just don't realize it. These guys are actually found all over the place. And so between them and all the other snakes you find, you're going to find someone near you somewhere. But remember, they're not wanting to bother you. If they're there for a reason. And that's that you've got food or you've got shelter. So if you're concerned about having snakes around, there's things you can do, like clean up brush piles and wood piles around your house, try to keep them away from the house. But also keep in mind that, these guys are there because they're either looking to stay safe or they're looking for food. If you've got, especially in the fall coming up here soon, if you've got a lot of wood piles and brush piles, mice love those. That's a great place for them to find. Garages are another great place. If mice can find a way in, the snakes can find a way in too, and they're in there because they're eating food. Once there's no food left, they're gonna leave. Think about, would you stay at a dinner table if there's no food at it? No, you're gonna leave. And so that's what they're gonna do. If there's no food there, they're gonna take off and find another place to eat then. And so, keep in mind, they're actually really, really helpful. So you don't have to touch them. You don't have to poke them. Just give them their space and they're gonna give you yours. All right, you guys have any other questions about him? Anything else I can tell you? Looks like I got through most of the questions. Well, did everybody enjoy your animals?
Yeah, how many babies can they have at once?
That is a good question. So this guy here will probably have somewhere between 4 to 10 babies at a time. So, and then some snakes are live bearers and some snakes are egg layers. This guy would be an egg layer. But there are things like boa constrictors or live bearers. If anyone remembers the anaconda we used to have here at the zoo, anacondas and boas are all live bears. And when she had her babies here, she had 30 babies in one litter. And so it was pretty impressive.
And do you keep those
And all of them,
babies?
do we what?
Do you keep those babies?
So when we had the baby anacondas here, all of them were actually shipped out to other zoos. So yeah, they all moved on. And we actually had 2 litters of babies here. The first one had 30 and the second one had 28. And all of them moved out to other zoos.
That's a lot of kids to feed.
It is a lot of kids to feed. But you know what? They don't have to feed them. The nice thing about snake babies, the parents have their babies and they walk away. They don't have to take care of them at all. The babies are born with everything they need to go take care of themselves. Anything else? Anybody else have any questions?
I don't think.
Well, guys, that's actually all that I have for you today. Did everybody enjoy your program? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
so
it
glad
was
that you enjoyed your program. Well, you know, there's a lot of amazing animals in your backyard, so I highly encourage you guys, since you don't want to be inside right now anyway, go outside, enjoy the beautiful weather when you can, try to see some of that wildlife out there, and just, you know, appreciate what we've got here in Pennsylvania, because we've got a lot of really special things here. All right. But especially you guys are so special. I'm so glad that we were able to meet with you this year, and I'm sorry that you couldn't make it out, but I hope you'll make it out again in the future. Okay.
Well, we are hoping that we could have our reunion again and live next year. So thank you, Beth, in the zoo for doing this for us. We really appreciate it. We're going to keep moving on here, and we have Janice Devine. She's actually our new executive director of development for our foundation. This would have been her first reunion, and she was really looking forward to it. But she is here today, and she wants to share some news on the foundation.
Yes, thank you, Denise. Hi, everybody. As Denise said, this is my first reunion. I'm really excited to be here for our very first virtual reunion. Thank you, Beth. That was incredibly informative. I'm like terrified now to go in my backyard. Thank you. So I don't know. I'm with Colleen and Laura about the snakes. I think I learned a lot about them, but I don't think I'm going to go in my yard this afternoon just to see any. I'm still recovering from that. I think I would have been better to speak right after Bill the turtle. But that was really, really informative. And thank you so much for that. I enjoyed seeing it. I just want to thank all of you for being here on behalf of the foundation. As you know, we have over 1,800 babies a year that come through the NICU. And I know you all know how amazing the NICU is, and I know you know how amazing the Parent Advisory Council is too. So we want to thank all of you for everything you do. Laura shared some of the incredible things that they do for the families. A few other things that I know of that they're doing, which I think is incredible, is the handmade ornaments that you guys do at Christmas time that you give to the families. That's just so heartwarming at that time to be able to do something like that. I know that you have the Wall of Hope Gallery that tells all the wonderful stories that you do. And then the graduate ceremony. I mean, that's something that I know you've all been through, but I think just hearing these heartwarming stories that you guys are doing and the money that comes from the foundation, how it really helps these families at this really difficult time, is something we're really proud to be a part of. So the PAC, Parent Advisory Council, you know, they're not alone. We have a lot of other supporters that really help us. And we're really fortunate to have that kind of support. The one thing that happened in the last week that I wanted to share with all of you is that we had a story that was on WPXI, and it was the Liam Finnegan story. And that was about, you know, a baby that was in our NICU for about 3 months, and he unfortunately lost his battle. So what we did after that story, we then shared that again with some of our supporters. And I'm really happy to say that within a matter of a week, we raised over $14,000 for that fund. And what we're doing with that fund raises money to buy soothers for the babies in the NICU. And there's soothers that help babies it plays music, lullabies. And you can also record loved ones' voices so that they could play it to the babies so they could hear it. So with that money, we were able to buy 280 soothers for the babies in the NICU. So that's really, really wonderful. And our goal was to raise at least 200. So since we had such a great response, we increased the goal to over 400. So we want to be able to help 400 of those babies. We can really help that. So that's just one story of all the incredible things that are happening in the NICU that we raise money for. So that's why I wanted to share with you Liam's story about giving back and how much it really helps our babies and our families, because as you know, they're going through such a really, really difficult time. So anything we can do to help them and their babies at this time is really, really important. And I just wanted to share with you that 100% of that money goes directly to the NICU to help the babies and their families. So if any of you are interested in learning more about how to give back and to support the NICU, Denise is going to be sharing an email after this presentation about how you can learn more about it. She can connect you with someone on our team. Just if you want to become part of that, but we really so appreciate everything you do, that you've been through. You're part of our family. And just thank you so much for being here. And as Denise said, we really hope next year to be able to do this in person so we get a chance to see you personally. But I really enjoyed this. It was a great way to see all of you virtually and to see the animals. And thank you for everything you do. And we hope to see you soon. So thank you.
Great, thank you, Janice. So wanted to try and do our, every year we do the NICU reunion group photo. So we're gonna try and do a virtual one here. And so if you're all still on, if you could start your videos, or if you can't, I'm going through and asking you to start your video. Let me go through these. So if you have that ability to unmute and start your videos, you can say hello to each other. We still have a little bit more time.
Okay, we're ready.
Yay, there we go.
Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, guys. Hi, everybody. Hi. Hi. Look at the little boy. Say hi. Hi. Say hi. See them? Hi. Hi, Michael. Hi, guys. Jeff and Josie. Hi, guys. Just waving. Hi.
You're here in the picture.
Hi.
Everybody.
Josie, wave. Hi. Josie's excited.
No, stay right here.
Hey.
They can't see you.
So please let me know if you haven't been able to shoot me a chat if you haven't been able to get on. All right, so I'm gonna do a gallery view here. All right, so we're gonna see. I'm gonna. If you haven't turned your cameras on, I see Megan.
Okay, man.
Luki, hurry up, baby.
Say hi, Debbie.
Hi, Allie. Hi, sweetheart. Look at that blonde hair.
All that.
All right, give me one more second here.
Aww.
It's a lot.
Aww.
Want to go over there? Behind us.
Okay.
Stand up, floppy legs.
Oh
no, he's standing on me.
All right.
Turn around and say cheese.
Okay, ready?
Look at the camera.
Okay, look at the camera.
Go ahead.
Okay, I think I got it.
in here.
It's so great to see everyone.
Thank you, Denise. That was great.
So is everyone having a good summer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. So what they
Why are you crying?
Do we have any birthdays today? Any birthdays? No?
This is so great.
Whoa.
It's so good to see everyone. We will I'll be reaching out with you to send you all the information that Janice was talking about, and also I'll work with Jeanette. I see Jeanette's here. We'll pull together sort of a little
There you go. You're up. You're up.
I don't know, video. If you have any photos, you have my email address. If you want to take photos of yourself today for the reunion, we'll include that into the group photo. So you have my email. So go ahead and send me that. And also, I'll share the recording. So if you want to rewatch the zoo piece again, feel free to go past us and go into that. So, or if you wanted to share with any of your family members who might want to see something about the zoo. So there's a number of things that we can do with this. If you did buy your tickets for the zoo and you're going to the zoo, consider wearing your shirts that day. Take some pictures and email it to us, or post it on the NICU page. So that's all we have for today. I want to thank everyone. I also wanted to thank our sponsors today, and I'll share that here in a second. So these are our sponsors today. So the council, they very much want to appreciate John Eagle, who has been a part of this for a long time, and the 25 Club. We have Janice Hackett online here, who's the president. I see Jeff Simmons on from Mead Johnson. All the design work that Jeanette does, that she donates her time as a NICU mom. So Chasey, again, a longtime sponsor, and of course the zoo. We're doing such a fabulous job. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great rest of your day. It's kind of cloudy, but enjoy yourself. And thank you again. So hopefully we'll see you next year. Hopefully we'll have this again in June, the first Sunday in June. We'll keep you posted. And if anyone wants to talk with Laura about being a part of this great parent advisory council, reach out to her. So thanks again, and have a great day. Bye.
Hey, I want to say Nurse Debbie is on here. We're happy to see you on here. Please take back all of our love and appreciation and gratitude to your fellow staff members. We're used to seeing you in person. Please let them know from the bottom of our hearts when you go back to work that we love you all. Thank you for all you do. Dr. Diacobo, thank you for the advancements and all that you do to keep these babies safe, healthy, and growing. Thanks, everyone. It was so great to see you. See you soon. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
Can you clap?
Bye. All right. Bye, Marco. That's loud. Show them your squirrel. Show them your squirrel.
Guys, nice to hear. Thank you, Denise. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, everyone.
Clap.
Cute babies.
Clappies.
Adios.